Whew. Today, let's unbox and talk about my initial impressions about the brand new Parrot Anafi, a drone that can look up. Coming at ya. What's up everyone, I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. I've been waiting for this to get here for a while now. This is the Parrot Anafi, and its longtime drone manufacturer Parrots hope to compete against the superstar of the drone world, the DJI Mavic Air. And my hype level of excitement is somewhere in the stratosphere right about now. But before I get too worked up, let's get this tiny sucker out of the box, you know, for real. And just to make sure we all have a shared understanding of what this tiny drone can do, let's cover the basic specs of the Anafi, of the Parrot drone. The Parrot Anafi is a super small, portable, 4K capable drone. It has a 21 megapixel camera with an f2.8 aperture. It has a 1/2.4 inch CMOS sensor and can film in up to Cinema 4K 4096 by 2160 at 21 frames per second. It can also do regular UHD 4K up to 30 frames per second and 1080p up to 60 frames per second. It is stabilized by a 3-axis hybrid system, which means it has a 2-axis mechanical gimbal, and that's on the roll and tilt angles, and it has electronic image stabilization to do the rest. So it's more similar to the DJI Sparks gimbal setup than the Mavic line of gimbals, which are 3-axis mechanical. However, one of the abilities it does have, as we previously mentioned, is it can look up, which is a first for me in a drone. It has a max transmission range of 4 kilometers with the controller. It has a max flight time reported of 25 minutes, and it can go 55 kilometers an hour horizontal speed. That's pretty darn fast. We're gonna have to try that out. It also comes with a controller that works through an included USB-C type connection cable to pair with the phone of your choice. Okay, we've been talking for too long now. Come, let's go. Let's go fly. And we made it. So here we are. We're getting ready to do our very first flight of the Parrot Anafi. This guy right here. So let's see how it does. It is another hot one out today, I'll tell you what. Super quiet. Not very stable. I'm not touching anything. It's kind of drifting all over the place. I like how quiet it is though. I'm a pretty big fan of that. Okay, so something that I'm noticing right off the bat is it only has one downward facing sensor, and you can kind of tell because it is not stable at all. It's having real problems just staying level, and like right now it's doing all right, but for the most part it's not doing a very good job like keeping level. It also makes me nervous popping it into follow me mode or any of the smart functions because it doesn't have any side sensor, so it doesn't know when to stop. And I'm pretty rough on drones, so you can know, if you've watched the channel for long enough, you know that that's kind of dangerous for me. But I think it's a fun little drone. I really like how quiet it is. I really like how light it is. The controller's kind of growing on me. But okay. That's enough. First flight done. I'm sweating. The battery's almost done. Back to the studio. And we're back. So what are my first initial impressions of the Parrot Anafi? Let's talk about the things that I don't like first. I do think the build quality is pretty lacking. I understand they have to hit a certain price point, but this drone feels cheap. It is incredibly light, which is awesome, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, but it feels cheap, and these props look cheap. Second thing I don't really like is the camera cover is nice to have, but it's not something that gives me a whole lot of confidence in that it's gonna stay on, and that it's gonna stay on and protect my camera at the same time. This thing, it's hard to get on and off, and I don't trust it. And the last really big physical one is the controller doesn't hold my Samsung Galaxy S9 with a case on it. It's almost big enough, but if it won't hold a small phone like a cased S9, it definitely won't hold the bigger ones. It can also hold my uncased iPhone 7 Plus, but I like not having to take my phone out of the case. You know, that's kind of a big deal for me. And a really big software complaint I have, and it's something I knew ahead of time, but that doesn't make it any better. You have to pay upfront for features to be unlocked. Again, I get it, they're trying to make some money back on the cheaper price point, and when it comes to their flight planning software, they always charge you extra, and you know what? I'm okay with paying extra for the flight planning software because I think of that as extra to the drone itself. But charging $17 for the follow me mode is excessive. I mean, that is an excessive price. I was expecting more like $5 for a little bit, but $17 is kind of... It was big sticker shock for me after spending $700 having to spend another 17 bucks. But most of those are gripes, and I haven't come across any actual deal breakers yet. So let's talk about some things that I really like about the Anafi, and there are some things that I really like. The lossless zoom is so awesome for a small drone right now. Yes, you can always fly closer to your subject if need be, but the thought of getting an actual zoom out of a drone shows where the tech can go in the future. Just like my A7 III, I use the digital clear zoom on this all the time, and if this can reach that, that's so awesome. And it can look up. Now, I know that sounds like a gimmick, and maybe it is, but the way I use drones in most of my home videos isn't necessarily just for the 400-foot overhead shots. I use them as cameras that I can place almost anywhere in three-dimensional space so that I can get any kind of shot I want from almost any angle, and being able to increase that versatility is actually pretty exciting for me. The video quality is pretty good. I'd say it's on the level with any other drone at this price point. It's nothing shocking, but it's not terrible. It's pretty good. And the 25-ish minutes of flight time is actually pretty good. I haven't done any tests yet, but I assume it'll be more like 22, 23. But the reason they're able to get that kind of flight time is how light this thing is. Again, we talked about how light kind of feels like cheap too, but... And one final thing that surprised me is how quiet this drone is. It is much quieter than my Mavic Air, and if you've watched the channel for any amount of time, you know that I really like drones that don't cause too much noise pollution. So my overall initial impression is I'm excited to play around with this thing some more. I think it has a lot of potential, and I can't wait to play around with it a little bit more. There are some things that I'm not exactly sure of yet. The motors, the props, those could be deal breakers once we start flying it a little more, but what do you want to see out of the Anafi? Leave a comment below and I'll try to fit your requests into my next couple of videos, because we're probably going to be talking about this little guy for a while. Thanks for watching.